Good morning, traders. Today is Wednesday, September 14th. My name is Charles, and this is the Power Traders live stream. Novice trader, good morning, Bookmap. All right, exciting news today about Bookmap. We're going to talk about that a little bit more here in a minute, but I wanted to just start with the market profile and what we're looking at based on yesterday's trade. So obviously, it goes without saying, yesterday was a change in the market. The market had been trending higher, and we instantly had a massive move lower yesterday. We consider that move excess. Okay, and it's important to remember that the market often needs to balance off excess. When you create this big of a move, it increases the odds the market needs to either pull back with price to balance off a bit of the move, or rotate sideways at lower prices, looking to either break lower or higher from there. So that's the first thing that jumps out at me, that yesterday was a lot of excess. It was a big move. Now, sometimes excess leads to more excess, right? Sometimes you start trending and you just keep going. So that is certainly possible this morning. We may just keep going lower today. But we just also need to take the probability into account that we might be going sideways. Okay, so right out the bat, that has me a little bit bearish to sort of neutral. Then I noticed that we're opening inside the spike from yesterday. There was a massive spike down at the end of the day yesterday. That is a sign of momentum to the downside. So that is very bearish to me, that we are opening inside of the spike. So essentially what I'm looking at this morning as a potential move for the market, I'm assuming if we're going to rotate sideways, we're probably going to do it between the low of the day from yesterday and this node right up here around 4,000. So I suspect if we push up, we'll get resistance in here and come back down and just kind of rotate sideways inside this range, or even potentially inside the overnight range. If not for a few hours, maybe even for a full day. And then whichever direction that breaks. So if we can break back through 4,000 to the upside, or we break down below yesterday's low and find resistance there, I would be looking for continuation of that move. So if we can get above 4,000, continuation higher as, a way to balance off the excess with price. If we can't get above there and we just rotate sideways, I'll assume we're balancing off the excess with time. And if we push below yesterday's low, come back up and find resistance, I'll assume we have more excess to the downside to come. Okay? So that's my main focus this morning. We are opening inside the previous day's range, so the odds of chop are very high. So the first thing we're watching is that overnight high and that overnight low. As long as we're chopping between them, I think it'll probably be very hard to predict support and resistance. So the real sort of, information will happen when we test the high or the low of the overnight. So with that, let's get ready for some chop with a slightly bearish tone. Some bear chop. Good morning, Arthur. Chilling with Dylan, Daniel, John Lass, The Shaw. Nor Auto Trading says, we're excited to announce Pirate Traders is teaming up with Bookmap. It's true. It's happening. Finally, after almost 2 years, my first corporate sponsor. Basically, if you're not familiar with what Bookmap is, it is the software that you're seeing on the right side of my screen. It's what's called order flow software. It's basically designed to help you see the orders that are in the books before they fill, right? So the information that we're seeing on the market profile, when we see volume in here, we're seeing the volume that is actually exchanging hands in real time. What you're seeing over here is the volume that's in the books waiting to be exchanged. And so right now in the beginning, my main focus is solely with Bookmaps is solely going to be the heat map. Okay, so I'm not really paying much attention to these squiggly lines. I'm not paying attention to these circles. The main thing I'm paying attention to is the colors that you see in these little lines up and down in here. That is the liquidity in the market, the orders that are waiting to fill at particular levels. And watching how the market reacts when it gets close to those levels is incredibly insightful. I was basically, I intentionally avoided order flow for years because to me it seems silly. The idea that you're looking at something you know is designed to fake you out. You know that there are bigger players that use order flow to spoof orders, to put in liquidity, specifically to either push the market away or pull the market towards it. And then as soon as it gets its desired effect, the liquidity disappears, right? So you say to yourself, how can I use that as a tool? That seems silly, to look at something that's intentionally designed to trick me, looking for insights. So I just avoided order flow for years because I just thought it was a silly concept. But what I've learned from looking at Bookmap, the little bit of time that I have been, is that you can actually see the spoofing happening. So you can tell, is this real volume or are they playing games? And of course, that is, does the volume stay in the market? So just looking, for example, here in the overnight, I don't really see anything super clear here. So basically the idea is like, if we look at this, we can see there was liquidity in here. And as soon as the market came up and tested that liquidity, it disappeared. It's not there anymore. Okay? Same thing here. Liquidity, as soon as we tested it, disappeared. Nobody piled on. So on and so forth. This isn't a great example with this thin volume in the overnight. I'll start pointing stuff out as we go through the day. It's important to note, though, when it comes to order flow and Bookmap, I'm brand spanking new to it. So I've watched some educational videos. I understand the basic concepts, but I'm nowhere near as experienced with this as I am with, market profile and market internals. So those will still be my main focus. I probably won't be talking about Bookmap a lot over the next few months. I'll be mostly observing and sort of learning, but it's here. And my computer hates me for it. My graphics card is ready to explode. All right, so the market is open. We're looking for chop. First potential support is going to be right around 39.57. Then we head up to test the resistance around 39.68. And we expect to just kind of grind around inside the overnight range here until we can break above the overnight high or below the overnight low. Let's jump over and take a look at the Q really quick. Exact same thing on the NQ. Opened inside yesterday's spike. That is bearish. Also got a weak low on the overnight. So yeah, you're pretty much looking for chop inside this overnight range. And if they can break above the overnight high, look to head up and test 12,260s. Looking for resistance there and more chop. And if they break the overnight low, further downside continuation. The fact that the overnight low is weak, exactly at yesterday's low, is just begging to break and head lower. So if that overnight low breaks, we're looking for further momentum to the downside. And until then, chop. Chop, chop it up. All right, so now we're pushing down into this area where we're looking for support, where we had this big pink node of volume from yesterday, and for the market to turn around and chop right back up. We do have bad taper at the high, increasing the odds. We need to head back up there and do some more business. Okay, well, there's your support. It's bad taper, though. The chop continues. Man, that's about the worst taper I've ever seen on that low. 2,800, 2,500, 2,900, 2,000, 2,200. Okay, so first sort of bookmap market profile idea popping out of me here. So I see the bad taper at the high up here. I know the market is in a chop zone. So I know that if we find support down here, that increases the odds that we're going to try to head up and get some more two-sided trade up there. And then I look over at bookmap and I see that there's this big node of volume right up here. Okay. And it's waiting right there between 66 and 67, which guess what? Would be right where we'd have to go to get that good taper. So that might increase the odds in my mind that we need to head up and test that level. And then we can wait and see what happens to these sellers once we get there. Does that volume instantly disappear from the order book? Or does it stay in there? Every time we poke, do they just keep adding? Or do we poke right through? And then when we poke through, do they flip the book? Do they start to build up the volume in that same area, but now underneath of price? All of these are insights to consider. I have so much to learn. Cortman, get some tea and honey before you answer that. What software are you using? Question. Yeah, again, guys, I'm not going to be able to answer a lot of questions about Bookmap right now in the beginning. I'm just experimenting with it. I've had it up on a separate screen on my computer for about a month now. And I've just been kind of glancing at it throughout the day, but I haven't been able to include it in my analysis. It's been too hard. Like trying to talk to you guys all day, every day using market profile references and also include this and not be able to explain the confusion between the two was just too much. So I realized the only way I'm ever going to be able to learn Bookmap is I'm going to have to do it live in front of you guys. And so I just won't have a lot of answers in the beginning. I'm learning. I'm figuring things out. So I'll do my best to answer your questions. But if I don't, just know I'm not ignoring you. I just probably don't know the answer. Also, keep track of any questions that you have about Bookmap or order flow, because we're going to have Bruce from the company, from Bookmap, on the stream at some point in the next week or two to answer all your questions. So write them down on a piece of paper and keep track, and we'll ask the expert. Okay, so as price is working its way back up to that opening price, we're noticing that liquidity didn't go anywhere. They're still waiting to fill those orders. Interesting to see. So we'll be looking for resistance at 67. TV, do you consider M and L as the spike down? Yes, I do. Anything in the last hour of the day, I consider to be a spike. All right, so boom, we just pushed into that liquidity. So now do they flip the book? Do they start to take the volume that they had up here and put it underneath of price down here? If not, we're likely to just create some taper and start to head back down, and the chop will continue. If they can find support here, if they can turn, the resistance into support, we can head up to test that overnight high. Got a low volume node right here at 65 in need of backfilling. Okay, that's a short covering rally. I'm going to consider the A period high weak because it stopped one tick from the base of the spike down from yesterday. So we're looking for support here, a backfill to 65 to get this low volume node backfilled. Support there to come back and try to repair that weak high. RK, Bookmap is great, but don't let huge apparent resistance and support fool you. It can be punched through both. Yeah, that's the point, right? That's what I was talking about. That's why I avoided order flow, because so much of it is fake. But I think with Bookmap and my good brain, I can learn to tell the difference. Okay, so now we're starting to backfill that low volume node. Only 100 contracts. We need at least 100 more. And if they can get support here, we can look to head up and fix that weak high. If not, more chop. All right, the chop continues. RK, you've the cheap version. How do I get the better version? Do tell. Scooball, do you have icebergs at that book map? I don't have the icebergs thing. I'm just trying to learn one thing at a time. So right now, I'm only really focused on the heat map. Everything else I'm ignoring. I'm just trying to master one element at a time. So the icebergs and all of that, that's later. Right now, heat map. Charlie likes to keep it simple. Nunez, can you also use it on something like oil or just ES? You can use it on any asset. It's like market profile. Any asset in a financial market, you know, you can always glean information from knowing who's doing the business. I've been told it's particularly impressive for crypto because you can quite literally see the pump and dumps. So I will be interested in exploring that in the future. McStockster, I use Bookmap daily and actually think the heat map is the least useful feature. My favorite use is for pace of tape and accuracy of what's happening regarding volume. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I got to learn, right? I'm not going to magically know. I have to just figure it out one step at a time. So I'm starting with heat map. Can it help me? Are there insights? Does it give me an edge? If not, I'll move on to the next thing. Anita, are you giving more attention to market profile or Bookmap? Market profile, without a doubt. I'm going to treat Bookmap the way I treat the internals, which is I'm watching market profile to understand what the market is doing. And then if there are little insights I can gain from looking at Bookmap, then I'll use them. But my analysis will remain the same. What is the market trying to do? How good of a job is it doing? And for that, I like the market profile. Mark, just a little learning advice. Look at the order flow, then picture what other traders are seeing. Do the opposite of that. Yeah, that tends to be the advice in general when it comes to trading. Figure out what everyone else is doing and do the opposite. Trading mixed stocks, sir. What I mean by speed is basically no other chart shows the actual slope of price change accurately. That is one thing I find really interesting. I mean, I'm not a scalper, so it's not that big of a deal for me. But the way that Bookmap processes time is very, very interesting. It's not like a regular candlestick where each unit is broken up, into smaller 15 seconds or 30 seconds or 1 minute or whatever. It's a flow. You can see the line just constantly flows second by second. So if you're a scalper that's just looking to make quick, 3 or 4 point moves, this could just be incredibly insightful. But like I said, for me right now, I'm just looking at a big picture. Where's the large nodes of volume and what are they doing? Courtman? So do I get a free t-shirt for my brilliant detective work? Sure. Just for you, a free t-shirt. Send me an email and I'll make you a discount code. You got to pay for the shipping though. How's that sound? No, Corbin, it's happening, bro. Email me. Ask and you shall receive. All right, so we got the value area pushing up against the high of the day. It's also still weak, so that in my mind increasing the odds that we need to head up there and repair that weak reference. The next target then becomes the overnight high. If we're able to get above the overnight high, can we find support there for continuation? Or do we just look above the overnight and fail and pull right back down in? No chicken wings. I got to draw the line somewhere. I'm not cooking for you. Nunez, are there learning materials for Bookmap? Yes, there is. If you're in the Discord, I put a section in there for Bookmap, and I put the educational stuff there. If not, you can just go to Bookmap's YouTube page, and there's a section called educational content with like 4 videos. That's a great starting point. Scott, how so? Could you give an example for a scalper? Well, you can just see as the market is making little tiny moves, you can see exactly what it's doing. You know what I mean? Again, I'm not really in a position to answer this because I'm not a scalper and I'm brand new to Bookmap. I don't know. I'm just saying you can literally see second by second the volume that's coming in, right? So you're looking at these are big nodes of volume popping in, right? Boom, I can buy that one. Boom, sell that one, right? Like really quickly, you can just make moves. Boom, sell that, come back, buy that, you know? But yeah, I'm not a scalper and I'm new to Bookmap, so I can't tell you specific strategies, but I'm telling you, this is completely different than looking at candlesticks. The information that's being displayed is far superior. Scott, I'm colorblind. Well, it's you can actually put it in monochrome if you want. Cortman, you have a bunch of new merch. You got to mention it on the stream. It ain't going to sell itself. I know I'm the worst salesman. Do you like t-shirts? How do you feel about hats? Do you like a cup or a sticker? Piratrators.io / merch. RK, I love the Tri Blend t-shirt and we'll buy more. They're there. Okay, what about a colorful parrot tri-blend? I'll get one for you. Check back in a week. Scooball, I was thinking of going long in support, but this advancers versus decliners tells me I have to wait. Yeah, if you want to be safe, you want to wait till we get above that overnight high. As long as we're inside the overnight range, I mean, it's just going to keep chopping away. Mark Lawrence, maybe you should sponsor a little league baseball team. I was at a Mets game a few weeks ago, and FTX is like a major sponsor. There was like crypto ads everywhere. It was interesting to see at like a major baseball game. The biggest billboard in the field was a crypto billboard. Chilling with Dylan. I tried a long at the open with a tight stop. It didn't work. Yeah, you can't use a tight stop in chop. If you want to play chop, it's one of those trades you just got to get in, pucker up that butthole, and wait for it to work out. Jeremy Jones says, what an expected mess after yesterday. Yep. They freaked everyone out yesterday, and now no one knows what to do. Half the people think it's going to go up, and half think it's going to go down. Scott, or John, will you show your tick chart? Yeah, no information from the ticks right now. They're just passing up and down through the zero line. Indecision, they say. Indecision. Chilling with Dylan. On heat map, you just see liquidity. Can't differentiate between buyers and sellers. So if you're looking on the heat map, no, it's just the total amount of volume. But if you look over here, this column right here, the middle one, that is showing you the delta between the buyers and the sellers. So when you see the market pushing up towards a certain level, so like right here, you could see that's mostly more sellers waiting to get in right there. You can also tell, this is a little bit more advanced than I'm ready for right now, but you can also tell based on the color of the, the volume that's waiting, and then the size of the circle when it passes through it. So if the price comes up here and it passes through here and it doesn't make a big, massive set of circles like this, then you know they pulled that liquidity, so it was fake. Whereas if as they pass through that level, you get these big circles, then you know they're actually filling. But again, that's a little more advanced than what I'm looking at right now. Scott, can you explain how you would try to use the spheres? I don't know what you mean by spheres. Mark, I believe the volume dots on Bookmap are set by default to show delta imbalance, meaning the size of the bubble is in relation to the offset of buyers and sellers. Yeah, you're right. The bigger the green bubble, the more buyers. The bigger the red bubble, the more sellers. David Keene, is anyone else having problems with Trade-Evate? Well, David, it looks like it must be your system. Oh, I also want to mention on the daily today, if we do just have a sideways rotational day, it would also make sense because we're testing that uptrend from the June, July lows. So spending a day just kind of grinding around right on here wouldn't be unreasonable. One more thing I forgot to mention. Mateus, not much doing today. You think we rotate or watch for break on the range still? Definitely watch for the break. Needing to balance makes sense, but not needing to balance forever, right? At some point, somebody's going to win, the buyers or the sellers. And once they do, everyone on the other side is going to get squeezed. So keep a close eye on that overnight high and that overnight low. David Keene, so strange. All my data is delayed, and I just checked my subscription, and nothing's different. That's annoying. Usually they're, I don't know Trade-Evade specifically, but usually trading platforms are pretty quick about responding during regular trading hours. Just keep trying them. Ooh, that's a good point, McStockser. Oh, no, he's on Z. Jeremy Jones. Cue Jaws music. Not yet, man. It's a chop zone, so we could easily find support. The Jaws music comes at the overnight low. Thank you, Fighter Pilot. Appreciate it. Okay, we got a poor low in need of repair. The market often pushes away from a poor low and okay, instantly repaired. So last chance for the buyers to defend here above 39.42. If we break that overnight low, we could bring in new sellers looking for continuation. It's worth noting we are still inside the spike from yesterday, which is bearish. And value is lower than yesterday, which is also a little bit bearish. Dun dun. Dun dun. Dun 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 dun. All right, there's the test of the overnight low. Okay, that's the break of the overnight low, which is bearish. So now we're looking for resistance and a test of yesterday's low at 39.38. Okay, resistance has me bearish to test yesterday's low. Breaking below yesterday's low and finding resistance there would be extremely bearish for further downside continuation. Remember what I said this morning about excess and balance. When the market is trending, when it is in a phase of excess, where it is moving in a certain direction, you assume at some point that has to come to an end. But if it doesn't, what do you expect? More excess. You expect that trend to keep going. So if we push below yesterday's low and find resistance there, that is a sign that the momentum isn't over. And we've got further downside continuation ahead. Okay, with the printing of the C period, we've left behind some single prints in the B period. So we're looking to backfill those back up to 39.49 and resistance there for continuation lower. I would say I am now bearish as long as we stay below 52. Or I say 53. I am expecting resistance there and continuation to the downside. So if we don't get it, I'll know I'm wrong. But I am bearish. With that, I bid you all farewell. I wish you the best on this hump day, and we will see you here tomorrow morning. Thank you all so very much, and have a great rest of your day. Members of the brigade, you know what time it is. Let's ride.